My name is Morgan Young. I'm interviewing Herb Columb for the Oregon State Capitol Foundation Oral History Project. It's October 17th, 2024, and we are in Salem, Oregon. Thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Glad to be here.
So we're going to start with your career as the facilities manager, and I believe that started in 1996?
Correct. Well, yeah. For the 1997 session, right at the end of 96.
Okay.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your life and career prior to that.
I was in the military for 28 years, and about a year before my retirement, we had family in northern Washington and central California. So we drove out to Oregon, which I figured was a good mid spot. Kind of drove up and down I-5, just feeling it out. And then I put out some flyers and started looking for job possibilities. Ended up getting a job offer down in Corvallis. And that's what we came out here in 1995 to take on. For a variety of reasons, that job just didn't work out. So I spent a few months after that looking at other possibilities in Oregon, and saw the advertisement for the facilities manager job at the Capitol and applied for that. And fortunately for me, there was a retired Navy captain on the board, Gene Derfler, who was part of the interview panel. And I didn't know it at the time, but later on when I was filling out the paperwork to start my job at the Capitol, the human resources person told me that as I walked out of the room, Senator Derfler turned the rest of the interview panel and said, "Okay, you've got a chance to hire a retired Navy captain from the U.S. Naval Academy. Don't blow this." So that's how I got started.
Before you applied for the position, had you ever been inside the state capitol?
No, but right after I applied, I looked around before I came.
Do you have any impressions that you recall of your first time going in that building?
I've always loved the rotunda. Just walking in and being impressed with the building. The simplistic beauty of it is really neat.
Before you move on, I just want to mention, if you wouldn't mind moving your phone, I can see it just a little bit in the frame. Thank you. Actually, I can still see it there. If you wouldn't mind maybe putting it on the ground or something. Appreciate that. Sorry.
Nitpick.
I sure am. Sorry.
In the real world, you always have your phone by you.
What were your responsibilities when you started as facilities manager?
Within the Capitol, it was taking care of everything that goes on basically inside the building, heating and cooling, HVAC type of things, electrical, plumbing, those type of things that are being associated with a building. In addition to that, we had the publications. Everything back in those days was on paper, so every bill was at least one piece of paper, sometimes multiple pieces of paper that had to be distributed and be ready to hand out to the public if they came in and needed a copy. I took care of the janitorial services, both the day crew and the night crew, and visitor services eventually came under that too, with the tour guides and that sort of thing that go on there.
About how many staff do you think were?
But in the interim, around 30, and during session, probably 45 or 50, with the increases that we had to do when the building was fully occupied.
What was it like to work in a historic building? And I believe you also worked with the Capital Preservation Advisory Committee.
They were a great asset. Working as facility manager in the state capitol, you sometimes felt that you were working for about 60 bosses. the House of Representatives and the senators, each thought they had some say on what went on. And in those early days, before we did the renovation of the wings, as the new staffs would come in, somehow in the middle of the night, furniture would move mysteriously from one office to another, and then my office would get a call by 8 o'clock the next morning saying, something was missing. So we'd have to kind of go around and figure out where it went, and then try to explain to people that's not the way you procure furniture within the Capitol. And it was just, there were some fun things that went on with them.
So, and the Capital Preservation Advisory Committee helped resolve issues that came up.
I missed the second half of the question. They were a valuable asset. Also, before I got there, the Capitol had been registered as a historic building, and so we, as a facility manager, I was able to leverage those two things to allow me to say no to some of the projects that people wanted to do inside the building that would have significantly altered the fabric of the building, and just to have those two resources say no, that's not the look that we're after here in the Capitol was valuable.
You also worked with the Oregon State Capitol Foundation.
Yes, and my interface there was that most of the projects they wanted to do at that time were physical projects. This was before they really got into the education and things that they're doing now. One of the first things they did was to add some beautiful benches to the rotunda. Rotunda has a border that's about 2 feet high of black.
Black radial marble.
Thank you, black radial marble, and we had to make sure that if we were doing something there, that it blended in. So we were able to get some benches made out of the same material that we had the same curvature to them, so they fit right against the walls of the building. And if you didn't know that they were not an original part of the design, you wouldn't know it. The foundation did a nice job on doing that. But that's the kind of thing that I was able to interface with them and get done. They also had wanted to put out some place within the Capitol for the Medal of Honor recipients that we have from our state. And so the idea came up to put monuments around the 2 flagpoles that are outside. And so I got involved with actually getting those ordered and installed and that sort of thing. And then we did the walk of flags outside in the park, flag for each state, and is it 5 or 6 for the Indian Native American tribes also have their flags out there.
For the federally recognized tribes?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
probably 9.
9, okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. So were these projects with the foundation while you were facilities manager?
Exactly, yes, yeah.
But then later you joined the board.
They
did
asked
you
me,
not?
after I retired, yes, they asked me to join up. That was very nice. Yeah, enjoyed doing that.
So you mentioned that the rotunda is one of your favorite places within the Capitol.
It's just so open and inviting. We have just goes up and up and up, and you're looking at the stars up there, and we do events in there. At Christmas time, the visitor services just do a fantastic job of trees and decorations everywhere. It's just beautiful. I mean, people come every evening, during the day too, to watch it. My grandkids loved to turn on the electric train that would go around the base of the tree. It was a fun time.
Do you have other favorite parts of the Capitol building? I always love the phone booths.
Oh yeah, they really are. Yeah, and that's one of my concerns as to what's going to happen to those during the things that are going on right now. We had some recommendations of how they could really be used, but I don't know what's the final outcome is going to be. Some of the other places that I like that most people don't get to see are some of the things under the Capitol. We have tunnels and kind of hidden spots and attic things that people don't know. Those are the nooks and crannies that are kind of fun too.
Let's talk about access to the building. You and I had a pre-interview conversation, and you mentioned that it's one of the most open capitals.
It was.
Okay.
We've just lost Peter Courtney, and his philosophy was always that this is the people's building, and he wanted it to be as open and accessible as we could make it, and that was always the way it was. Even after 9/11, we were still, I think, the most open capital in the country. We had things around where we could observe and be aware of what's going on, but the public could still come and go freely. And it wasn't until later on that he felt that the time had come to really make it a little more secure. And I know he didn't want that to happen, but that's just the way things are.
Let's talk about some of the major building projects that you were involved in. You mentioned the wings.
The Wings project was one of the last ones
Okay.
that I did. That was a project at that time. We had just outgrown the electronics and communications abilities within the wings. Technology has just boomed so fast that we weren't able to keep up with it. So we really needed to go in and gut some things and then put it back together so that the legislators had the tools that they really needed to efficiently do their job. This helped them transition from the all paper environment to a digital environment, and just be able to access things much more quickly and cleanly. And in the process, we were able to get the prison industries to make us a set of furniture for both the House and the Senate. We made the House out of oak to match their floor, and the Senate wing was made out of walnut. And for some reason, that ended the midnight escapades of folks stealing furniture from one another as well.
You were also involved with the renovation of the hearing rooms, right?
Yes.
And the gift shop?
Yes, that was
before.
early on. Yeah, that was early 2000s.
Yeah, 2002 is the
yeah,
note that I have.
And again, for the same reasons, primarily driven by media folks. We weren't able to cover what was going on in the rooms as well as we would have liked. And so again, we had to get down to the infrastructure to get that wiring redone and get some cameras properly mounted within the rooms so that we could really see what was going on and handle the recording and dissemination of the hearings properly.
What about the 2008 fire?
We were trying to, that was in the middle of doing the terrace project, and we were almost finished. And a fire started right outside of the governor's office, ceremonial office, that night. It was on Labor Day. And the most heavily damaged part of the building was the ceremonial office with the beautiful paneling that's in there, and then of course water damage above and below it just from putting the fire out. The area above we were able to fairly quickly restore. The hearing rooms again were heavily damaged. They were flooded. So that was a major effort to get those back together. But it gave us a chance again to do a little more improvement when we did. The part that was the challenge, but also the probably more thankful that we were able to have the opportunity, was to get the governor's office restored to what it was when the building was dedicated back in the 30s. Over the years, people had piecemeal taken parts of the office and added doors and walls and that sort of thing to it. So we were able to take all that out and get his main conference room restored to the full length of what that was at the time of the dedication. And we had some fantastic folks from Portland who came down and restored and gave us new paneling where we needed it in the ceremonial office. Unless you have the diagram that we made after the reconstruction, noting which panels were original, which panels were new, you cannot go in that office now and tell that it was destroyed. They just did a fantastic job on it. And then we had a nice new carpet made that has the seal. That was Governor Kulongowski's suggestion, I think, that when he was doing interviews in the room, at the time it was just a blank carpet. He says there's nothing that shows that someone is being interviewed in the Oregon Capitol. So we have the seal now on the floor there. So it's an obvious indication of where that interview is taking place. And we also, at the time, because of media, had some hidden panels installed in the room so that when the governor is doing his or her broadcast from behind the ceremonial desk, they can open these panels and the cameras are there to cover the event.
You were also involved in the early work that led to the current CAMS project, I believe.
Very, very early. Maybe it was because I couldn't do a good enough job of getting the big things done that needed to be. Over the years, just because of the age of the building and the way it was designed, there were things that we just couldn't correct. Some plumbing issues that were hidden well inside of beautiful marble walls that we just couldn't, get into to take care of. And some of the wiring was just getting old and brittle and needed to be replaced. And then because of new requirements for safety in buildings now, there were things that really should have been added to the Capitol that, because of design restrictions and things that we couldn't do, that would have hurt the look of the Capitol at the time, we just weren't able to do. So we needed help in doing more. And so Gary Wilhelms chaired a couple of commissions for us that got that going and broadened what we needed. The first was start off as a CAMS project, which had a little more limited scope, but was trying to take care of some emerging things that safety, primarily issues that needed to be taken care of. And then that, when they saw what would be entailed in getting into that, it became apparent that we really needed to get the major renovations in the building done that needed to be done. And then that led to the base isolation. So it all built on one another, and now we're going to have a beautiful, safe state capitol when this is all done.
And I think a lot of that safety has to do with seismic retrofitting. And
exactly. The building now will actually slide in an earthquake. And it may not be in perfect condition after a big quake, but it's still going to be standing. And we thought that was significant, that people able to look and see, yep, the capital is still here. We're still Oregon. This is still our capital. We're going.
Talk to me a little bit if you had such a thing as an average day or an average week at work, both in session and when the legislature was not in session.
During our session days, they would usually start well before sunrise, because back in those days, we literally had pallets of bills that would come in. I had a staff of about 10 people that would spread out in some tables in the basement and collate all the bills together.
They didn't arrive collated?
No. So, because a lot of them were literally printed that night. Bills would be revised, and so you can't blame them on the printer. Sure. I think the ink was sometimes wet when these things came to us. So we would get stacks of bills ready. We always did the legislators' stacks first and got those distributed, so they'd be ready on the legislators' desks when they came in that morning. And then the rest of them would be put in the publications and distribution office, so that lobbyists or anybody else that needed a set of bills for that day could come and get them, or just get one of the individual bills off the stacks. We had night crews. We had about 15 people at night that would go around and get the Capitol spotless for the next morning. One of the most dedicated groups of people that I had working for me at the Capitol were the custodians. Truly loved their building, and wanted it to gleam every day.
What about when you weren't in session?
When we weren't in session, that's when we were doing our little projects, trying to fix things and getting into areas and disrupting things that we wouldn't be able to do during a session, making noise and that sort of thing. Helping, just trying to update things throughout the Capitol. There were always little things that were going on, about changing a voting board out or things like that just couldn't be done during session. So that was our real work time, was during the interim.
Were there equivalent facilities managers at some of the other historic buildings along the Capitol Mall?
Not so much individuals, because we were the Oregon State Capitol was the only building that the legislature was responsible for. So I reported to the legislative administrator, Dave Henderson, at the time, to take care of our building. The rest of the buildings on the mall were handled by Department of Administrative Services, which had a main office where they would send people out to take care of their buildings.
And did you ever, if you reported to the Office of the Legislative Administrator, what if the executive branch had a need? Did that?
They were tenants.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yes. The treasurer and the governor actually paid rent, and the Secretary of State paid us rent to be in the building, and that went to maintaining the building. It was a nice source of income for facilities. And their load also changed in and out of session. Not quite as much as ours did, but we tried to take care of them and make sure that they had what they needed. I mean, going through the same type of problems that the legislators did with old technology, just outdated things within the Capitol that we tried to upgrade for them.
I've been in the Capitol when the freshman legislators are coming in, and they often have this combined look of awe and fear,
Yes,
like college freshmen.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
how would your role and your staff help with the freshmen?
We try to work with each one of them. I had a wonderful telephone coordinator who would go around individually and get them all set up with their official numbers, so they could answer calls from constituents almost as soon as they got there. She had their phone set up. We tried to get the room assignments as soon as we could from the Secretary of the Senate and the chief clerk, so that we could have things set up in advance. And all the rooms are always assigned by seniority, so it's not like you always know right after the election who's going to be where. It's kind of a pecking order that things had to go through to finally figure out who's going to sit where.
Do you have any memories that stand out to you of individuals either on your staff or legislators?
Well, my staff was fantastic. My first admin assistant, Judy Trusty, I know when I walked in the door, she was just thinking, okay, here's another one I got to break in. But just as helpful and kind as she could be. And I had staff there that were literally there for years, and couldn't do more for the building. They would go out of their way to help people, and it just made my job a pleasure. It was just fun to work. You know, they say if you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life, and that's kind of the way I felt at the Capitol. It was a joy. There were a couple of times when things didn't go quite right, but that's part of the job.
And what year did you retire?
I retired from the Capitol in 2013.
And when did you join the foundation?
I guess it was the next year. And then I've been on the foundation for probably about 6 years. And then I was offered an emeritus position following that. And that's a nice way of keeping in touch and seeing what's going on with the building. And of course, everybody in the foundation is dedicated to that building too.
Yeah. Do you go in the building now as a citizen?
When I can, yes. I am waiting with bated breath for the ribbon cutting when we finally finish this new project. I really want to see what's going on. I have snuck in a couple of times, and facility folks have taken me and shown me some of the new engineering spaces and that sort of thing that are going on. That's going to make life much simpler for them and much more pleasant for the occupants.
Those are the main questions I had. Frankie, did you have any questions you wanted to make sure I asked?
Oh, jeepers. I should have been thinking about that. Yeah, I probably do. I can't think of them right off the top of my head. Herb's probably happy about that.
Oh, I'm good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we've missed.
Well, I thought that CPAC was a really interesting committee and really helped us with a lot of awkward things and it was made up of all sorts of people. We had city people on it. We had
engineers, architects. Yeah. And it was outside folks. It wasn't, people from within the Capitol.
This is the Historic Preservation?
CPAC.
Yeah, Capitol Preservation Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Which
So it was a
officially
mix of
reported
people.
to the legislative administrator.
Okay.
But when somebody would come up with, and we had some strange ideas that would come up to do things in the Capitol, it was nice to have the resource there that could help explain that these walls were plain for a reason. They were they were designed that way, and we just can't start hanging stuff on them. And
All right, so I was just going to ask, so not only changing the literal infrastructure of the building, but maybe if someone wanted to have an art show or something, then this advisory committee would make recommendations on.
And visitor services handled those well for us because they had temporary panels put up for art shows, and for a while we had some nice shows going on, and it's a shame that we had to back off on that too. And there's still some beautiful art in the building. The Capitol has an amazing art collection. For people who aren't familiar with Oregon art, need to come through and see what we have in that building. There is some very expensive art hanging on some of those walls.
I think the average person might assume that the artwork refers to just governor's portraits, but it's beyond that. The collection that exists.
Absolutely, yes. In the Galleria area, as well as in the walls of the House and Senate wings. Yes.
How architecturally distinct are the House and Senate? You mentioned there's different woodworking.
They are different. The House side is oak. And of course, it's a little larger because they have to have more room for twice as many desks in there. And it also meant that their wing was a little more crowded than the Senate wing. Always a point of contention. And then the Senate side with just their 30 and the oak, their office suites are a little bigger and have a little more furniture and that sort of thing in them, and we try to have in the wings the walnut accents around to carry over from the chamber itself, and the same thing in the house with the oak accents.
So it's the historic chambers and then the wings that were from the 1970s. Is that?
The wings themselves are from the 70s.
Okay.
Yes. And then we carried in the carpet idea too. The carpet design from the floor on each side is different. The wheat on the Senate is carried through, and the fish and what's the other one? The fish and the fir tree. Thank you. From the House side are carried through on their floors in a modified design. We didn't want to compromise the size of what we had in the actual chambers, so it's a downgraded or diminished size, but it's the same character.
I would imagine it would just be very powerful to be able to walk through the Capitol in these hallowed spaces, when people aren't in session.
Oh, it is fun. It really is. I enjoyed it during session. I was able to access everywhere, and just to sit on the side aisles and watch your government in action is just a wonderful experience. It really is, and it's always a shame to talk to people outside of the Capitol who have no concept of what their government really is. And this is what one of the things the foundation is really trying to work on. But so many people are so confused between what their state government is and what their federal government is, and even their local government. And you just wonder, where do they miss out on their civics education?
Partly what the foundation is trying to do is we're spending a lot of money on trying to support groups that are teaching civics and bringing people up to snuff.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too that we have a citizen legislature, which not every state has.
Exactly, by design.
By
yes.
design.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. If there are anything else that you want to make sure that we note about your time working in the Capitol?
I think I'm good if you're good.
This was wonderful.
Okay.